Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Sleep Detective podcast. Today, I am so excited to have our client Laurie here with us to talk about her experience, how she was sleeping before we started working together, how she's doing now, and everything that happened in between. So thanks so much for being here, Laurie.
Thanks for inviting me, and thanks for getting me some sleep.
Yes, definitely. Awesome. So let's start talking about what was going on when we first started working together. How were you sleeping? How are you feeling? What was happening?
I had kind of had insomnia intermittently for, I don't know, I'm guessing 20 years. I never really kept track, but probably 3 years before I got in touch with you, it just got so much worse. And I was sleeping an average, I kid you not, of like 17 hours a week. It would be, an hour one night and then 2 hours and then nothing and then three and then six. And then, it was crazy. So that's when I said, there's got to be a podcast. So, since I tried everything else.
Right.
So, and it wasn't consistently like that I couldn't fall asleep. Sometimes I fell asleep just fine, and then 2 hours later I'd wake up and wouldn't get back to sleep, or or the reverse. So it was really a head scratcher.
Yeah, there's no rhyme or reason.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the case with, with a lot of people. Definitely some of us, had the problem of we wake up at 2 or 3 in the morning and then you're awake for a few hours. But there are a lot of people like you who it's just very random and up and down and this crazy roller coaster. And it makes it very hard to figure out what's causing it.
Right.
Trying different things and it's
Yeah.
just all over the place.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So what had you tried so far?
Whew. I mean, what hadn't I tried? So
I feel like that's what everyone tells me.
yeah, like every over-the-counter sleep supplement, and then I would gang them up because maybe it would work one night. And I'm like, yes, this is it. And then I didn't want to let go of it, and then it wouldn't work, and I'd add another. My doctor gave me a prescription for Ambien, which worked maybe half the time and only for maybe 3 hours at 3 hours at the most. So that was kind of useless. I got a grounding mat. I had a weighted blanket. I did hypnosis, every kind of yoga nidra and yoga and bedtime yoga and meditation and red light therapy. I mean, and all of the kind of the bedtime sleep hygiene protocols, everything, and just nothing was working. I think it was after the hypnosis when that did nothing. And so that's when I found your podcast. So there's got to be a podcast for this.
Awesome. I'm so glad you did. Yeah. And the your test results definitely showed some things going on in your body that were explaining this. Do you remember what struck you the most that they found?
Yeah. So I was convinced because this all started kind of around menopause. I mean, that was a while ago. So that it would be hormonal, but I actually don't think that that's the biggest issue, because there's a lot of women who can sleep fine who've gone through menopause. For me, I think it wound up, and there are some issues in there for sure, but I think the biggest thing was my serotonin was through the roof and my uranium was through the roof. And that was shocking. The uranium was shocking and it turned out that we have a place in Santa Fe where I spend 3 months out of the year. And we do have uranium in the water, which we discovered, after you had me test it. And it wasn't that high. My husband had no uranium. He got tested, but for some reason, my liver just didn't want to kick it out. And so now it's actually almost gone, which is amazing. And, we got a reverse osmosis system and we fixed the water system and all of that. So we did that. And with the serotonin, I think you said that it's probably all the supplements I was taking that just kind of shot it up through the roof, which is, I thought that was why I was always a happy insomniac. My serotonin is so high. But now that's come down, and maybe even you're trying to get that actually back up a little bit. But I think to me those are probably the two main things. And my gut is still a little messy, so we're continuing to work on that. But yeah. Yeah. And what's your view of that? I mean, did I hit that right?
Oh yeah, definitely. No, I think that that has a lot to do with it. And yeah, what you already said. I mean, there's always more than one thing. So yes, but I think the uranium was significant for sure. And yeah, and the serotonin and even GABA was high, I think, from over supplementing as
Yeah,
well.
the GABA was
So
high. Yep.
yeah.
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 So some of that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And then, we saw with the GI map that has that marker for liver function that was really high. So that was also part of it. Like you talk about your liver not being able to get rid of the uranium. I mean,
Yeah.
it was just building up and, some digestive support and, and definitely hormones, some of those were pretty low, but like you said, I don't think that was the predominant problem. And what I always say is hormones are low for a reason. So it's usually from
Right.
stress and all these other stressors. So
Yeah.
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 And after you've gone through menopause, they do kind of diminish. That is the
Right. Yeah. They're supposed to.
cycle.
Yeah.
That's what they do. So
Right.
yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what changes did you make? I mean, you just touched on the water filter, which made a
Right.
big difference.
Yeah, I cut dairy out. I went on a very low inflammation diet. I pretty much had cut out, but not consistently gluten, because I'd been on a kind of a low carb-ish diet for a long time for other health issues, and I added in more carbs, for instance. I don't do sugar. I mean, I was, considered myself a pretty healthy eater. It just turned out it might not have been healthy for my particular body. So, yeah. Anyway, I've always eaten vegetables, but I just upped the number of vegetables and diminished the protein a little bit. And I've never been a red meat eater. So, there were a lot of things that it was fairly easy for me to switch to that diet, just because I was so close to it anyway.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Which is awesome because you definitely embrace those changes. No problem. And, so tell us how you're sleeping now.
Oh my gosh. Lately I've been sleeping, 7 to 8 hours a night. And, I can get up and go to the bathroom and I get back and go to sleep. Now there are times, I've had issues there. I'll have a night or two and it's a little funky. And so, but then I just get back to it. So I don't worry about that because my pattern now is more to sleep than not to sleep in a big way. And it didn't happen immediately. It's not like, for me, it took, I think when I went off the dairy, it helped some. And I started sleeping maybe more consistently and getting to sleep a little more. But then it was like 4 hours a night instead of 1 hour a night. I'm like, oh, this is awesome. I'm getting
Right.
4 times the amount of sleep, right? and then, but now I can just go right back to sleep, and it's amazing. But I think that took about 5 months really working together. I mean, to really be much more consistent about better sleep. And it was kind of 6 hours, and then now it's 7 or 8. So I'm, knocking on wood here, but still knocking on wood a little bit.
Right. Well, yeah, we'll never take sleep for granted again. I know that.
Yeah, right. It was a huge
Yeah.
shift. Yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome. And I love that you brought up that it did take, up to 5 months to get to kind of where you are now. It does take time. And, I always talk about getting the body back in balance. And I've just started thinking lately too, it's not like we have to get perfectly back in balance. It's like we just have to pass this threshold to where the body gets slowly back in balance enough to where then it's able to sleep normally. And then you can keep on improving from there.
Right.
So
and it's also, then you become more self-healing,
Right. Yeah. Right. Once you're sleeping.
Right.
Yeah. Definitely. Yeah. Cause I mean, you can keep working on your health. By you, I mean anyone, myself too, as I do, like for years. And, it's going to take a long time to, if it's even possible in this modern life to get perfectly back in balance. But
yeah.
Somewhere along the way.
Happy from where I am here with my gut to get 50% thinner.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, what do you think made the biggest difference in, to getting where you are now?
Well, I think it's the switch in supplements for sure, or the additions of the ones that you put me on that has to be the biggest difference, in addition to, the dietary changes. And, I'm about to get all that tested. So we'll see what's really making, I'm actually excited about that, because if I could go back to like an occasional bite of cheese, I wouldn't be upset, but maybe not. We'll see.
Yes. Yeah. Laurie and I are continuing to do some testing. She's continuing to work on her health. So yeah. So I do offer that to clients once they've gone through the initial program, that we can continue working together. So yeah.
No, awesome. I'm really grateful for that. But it has been a life changer, I have to say.
Awesome. Yeah. Has anything else changed for you besides the sleep?
Well, just, when I was in that poor sleep mode, I wasn't motivated to do anything. And I was also very focused on sleep hygiene. And so you've got it, I'd have this, wind down routine. It was also regimented, and, because God forbid I should, go to a friend's house and get back later. And, so all of that I'm back to a normal life. I had honestly moved into a separate bedroom, because if I woke up in the middle of the night and wanted to put a yoga nidra tape on, I didn't want to disturb my husband. And, so we're back in the same bedroom, thank goodness. And, we go to plays and movies, and I travel, and, it's just, I have a life again. It really is remarkable.
That's so great. I'm so glad to hear that.
Yeah.
For sure. Well, yeah, you made all the changes to get yourself there too. So
it's worth it.
Awesome, right? Exactly.
Yeah.
People say they'll do anything to sleep better, but then some people have a hard time with giving up dairy, for example, or gluten or whatever it is. And so it's like, well, this could make a really big difference. So
yeah. And I found, you just find good supplement, or things to swap that out,
right.
And I did go back to coffee, but decaf, and the one that doesn't have mold in it.
Awesome. Right. Yeah. Perfect.
Yeah. So.
Okay, great. Yes. Well, is there anything else that you want to add?
I don't think so, other than my just total gratitude for you actually having this podcast, so I could find you, so that I could go down this path, because otherwise I'd gone to my naturopath, and they just do a test. She did the Dutch test, and that was it. And it didn't show enough it didn't really show what my problem was.
Right.
So I think I'm a big believer in the functional medicine approach now. So.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. Great. Yes. Well, I am glad that we found each other for sure. And I'm glad that we could help. And I love it that you are doing so much better. So
thank you. I am too.
Yeah. So thanks for sharing your story.
Yeah, my pleasure.